You come home one evening. Nothing has happened. You're not crying. You haven't said anything to anyone. You walk through the door the same way you always do. Drop your keys in the same spot. Say the same thing you always say. And your dog is already there. Not the excited version. The other version. Quiet. Close. Following you room to room with something in their expression that isn't quite happiness. Something more like concern. You didn't tell them anything was wrong. You didn't have to. This is what most people brush past. The assumption that whatever the animal notices is simple, that it's about food or routine or the sound of the door, that the gaze following you across the kitchen means nothing more complicated than "I want dinner." But that's not what the science shows. And the science in this case is genuinely unsettling. Not because of what it reveals about animals, because of what it reveals about us. About how much we perform. About how rarely anything sees through it. Truth 1. They can literally smell what you're feeling. This isn't metaphor. In 2022, Clara Wilson and her team at Queen's University Belfast collected breath and sweat samples from people at 2 different moments. One calm, one acutely stressed. Same people, different emotional states. Then they trained dogs to distinguish between them. The dogs correctly identified the stress samples 93.75% of the time. What they were reading was cortisol, the hormone your body floods into the system during pressure, fear, or sustained anxiety. You can control what your face does. You can steady your voice. You cannot control your cortisol. It moves through your sweat, your breath, the air around you. And your pet is close enough every single day to read all of it. Which means the version of yourself you've been showing, the fine, the calm, the holding it together, has never once worked on the animal that lives with you. They have always known. They just had no way to tell you what they knew. Truth 2. Your emotional state doesn't just affect them. It becomes them. Lena Roth at Linköping University in Sweden spent years tracking long-term stress patterns in dogs and their owners. The finding wasn't that stressed owners occasionally had stressed dogs. It was that cortisol levels synchronized across months and years. The animal didn't just pick up your mood in a moment. They absorbed it across time. The technical term is emotional contagion. The simpler version, your anxiety is contagious, your grief is contagious. The low hum of stress you've been operating under for years, your pet has been breathing it in every day until it became part of their baseline too. If you've been quietly running on empty, not dramatically, not visibly, just carrying the weight of it the way a lot of people do. Your pet knows, not as a thought, as something closer to a physical fact. They've absorbed the signal you never quite had words for. The body keeps a record. Apparently, so does the one that sleeps at your feet. Truth 3. They've been studying you more carefully than most people in your life have. Your pet knows your schedule with a precision that would unnerve you if you thought about it. They know the sound of your specific car among other cars. They know which kind of quiet means you want company, and which means you want to be left alone. They've mapped your emotional range the way a cartographer maps a coastline, every inlet, every drop. Julian Kaminsky at the University of Portsmouth has documented just how sophisticated Gs are at reading human attention. They track where your eyes go. They adjust their behavior based on whether you're watching. They are, in a very specific sense, running a continuous model of you, updating it daily, noticing when the version in front of them doesn't match the one they built last week. Your pet has likely put more sustained, uninterrupted attention into understanding who you actually are than most people in your life have. Not because they're smarter, because they're not distracted by who you're supposed to be. And when the day ends and the lights go out, that attention doesn't stop. Truth 4. They dream about you. In 2001, Matthew Wilson and Kenway Louie at MIT's Center for Learning and Memory discovered that during REM sleep, The brains of rats were replaying their daytime maze runs in precise detail. The same neural firing patterns. The same sequence. They weren't just sleeping, they were re-experiencing. Deirdre Barrett, a sleep researcher at Harvard Medical School, has written about the natural extension of this to dogs and cats. They have the same sleep architecture we do, the same REM cycles, the same rapid eye movements beneath closed lids, the same muscle twitches of a body caught inside something. And given that animals dream about what most occupies them during the day, the inference follows almost too cleanly. The figure that appears most in their dreams is you. Not in some abstract sense, the walk this morning, the hour on the couch, the sound of your voice in the kitchen. They are rerunning the experience of you, replaying it, processing it, the way your own brain replays a conversation that mattered. You are, in the most literal neurological sense, something they carry into sleep. Think about the last time someone told you they'd been dreaming about you. Think about what that meant. Truth. 5. What happens when they look at you is the same thing that happens between people who love each other. In 2015, Miho Nagasawa at Azabu University in Japan published a paper in Science that reframed how researchers think about the human-animal bond entirely. When dogs and their owners held sustained eye contact, just looking at each other, both showed significant rises in oxytocin, the same hormone released between mothers and newborns, between people in love. Not a similar hormone. The same one. The same neurological event. This wasn't something that evolved between pets and humans. It evolved for human bonding. But somewhere across 10,000 years of living alongside each other, the circuitry got shared. The gaze your dog holds when they look at you is not waiting for something. It is the thing itself. Something is happening in that moment in both of you that has a name in chemistry even when it doesn't have one in language. Truth. 6. To their brain, you are more rewarding than food. Gregory Burns is a neuroscientist at Emory University who spent years training dogs to lie still inside MRI machines, voluntarily without sedation, so he could watch their brains respond in real time. He exposed them to 5 different scents: themselves, a familiar dog, an unfamiliar dog, a familiar human, an unfamiliar human. The scent that most consistently activated the caudate nucleus, the brain's reward center, the region that fires for things an animal anticipates and loves, was the familiar human. Their owner. Not food. Not another dog. You. Their brain registers you in the same circuitry where it registers things worth waiting for. Things that make the world feel worth being in. Not because of feeding. Not because of conditioning. Because somewhere across thousands of years of living alongside each other, the wiring shifted. And now, you are what lights them up from the inside. Truth. 7. You are their entire architecture of safety. In 2014, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna tested whether dogs showed what psychologists call the secure base effect, the same mechanism John Bowlby identified in human infants. The one where another person isn't just someone you like, but the anchor around which your entire sense of the world being manageable is organized. They do. Separated from their owner and placed in an unfamiliar environment, a dog's whole system destabilizes. With you present, they explore, engage, play. Without you, even familiar toys go untouched. The world becomes too uncertain to move through. Think about what it means to be that for something. Not because you've earned it through consistency or calm or always being at your best, just because you are you. Just because you came home. Most people go through their whole lives without being seen at that depth by another person. Not because people don't care, because every human relationship, no matter how close, runs on some level of performance. You show the version that makes sense in context. So do they. Even the people who love you most are mostly watching edited cuts. Your pet has never seen an edited cut. They've seen you at 3 a.m. when you couldn't sleep and didn't know why. They've seen you the morning after something broke. They've watched you talk to yourself in the kitchen and cry at your phone and sit in silence for no reason at all. They've been present for the unguarded version, the one that exists before the performance starts and after it ends, every single day since they arrived. They don't know your job title, they don't know your history, they don't know the story you tell about who you are. They know whether you're okay, and often they know it before you do. There's something in that worth staying with. Not because it says something remarkable about animals, because of what it says about the rest of us, about how rarely, in a whole life full of people and conversations and connections, we let anything see us that clearly. They can't say what they know, but they've known it all along, human after all.